The hum of luxury silence shatters with a sound no one expects on a billionaire's jet. A child's cry. It's faint at first, like a dream, but then it rises, raw and real, slicing through marble and leather. Victor Haynes, billionaire at 54, looks up from his glass of scotch. Power has taught him to ignore chaos, but not this. Leah Moreno, 33, graceful in her pressed uniform, freezes near the aisle. Her eyes flick to the rear cabin, a sound like innocence lost. Could one cry stop a man who never stops? The voiceover asks. The pilot's voice crackles through the intercom, uncertain. Victor narrows his eyes, unamused, but beneath that, something flickers. Fear, curiosity. He stands. Find it, he orders. But when Leah bends to look beneath the velvet seats, her hand trembles. There, a child, eyes wide, tears glistening. No name, no ticket, just a red stuffed fox clutched to her chest. The air feels heavier now. Victor's voice cuts through it like a blade. Who brought her on this plane? No one answers. The engines hum beneath his anger. Leah clutches the child, shielding her from the echo of wealth turned rage. We'll land, she says quietly. We'll find her family. But Victor snaps. We don't land for strangers. His tone is ice, yet the child's cry cracks it, a sound too human to ignore. Something deep inside him stirs. A memory, maybe. The pilot waits for orders, hand hovering over the comm switch. Victor's reflection stares back at him from the dark glass. A man who once knew mercy, but buried it under money. For a man who controls markets, Victor now faces something he can't quantify. Silence. Fear. Innocence. The child's quiet sobs fill the cabin as Leah kneels beside her, murmuring comfort. Victor watches, jaw tight. We land in Dubai, he finally says, almost whispering. The words taste foreign, empathy spoken through command. Leah nods, eyes softening. Captain Ives moves to the cockpit. The engines shift tone. Victor sits again, the leather seat cold against his back. His empire can wait. The girl can't. The jet lowers through a sea of stars. The sound of engines softens. Leah hums quietly to the girl, her voice trembling. Victor looks out the window. The world below, glittering cities, forgotten faces. He presses a hand to the glass. Reflection trembling with emotion he doesn't understand. When was the last time you stopped? Leah whispers. He doesn't answer. The pilot's voice breaks in. Preparing for emergency landing. The light flicks red. And for the first time, Victor Haynes, the man who never waits, closes his eyes. Wheels screech. The jet slows on a glowing Dubai runway. Silence returns. Heavier this time. Victor exhales. Steady but shaken. Leah looks up, meeting his gaze. You stopped, she says. He almost smiles. The girl's head rests against Leah's shoulder. Eyes closed. Finally safe. Victor looks toward the runway lights stretching endless ahead. Somewhere between sky and ground, he left a version of himself behind. The jet door opens to a flood of light and noise. Dubai air hits like fire. Victor steps down first, his tailored suit too heavy for the heat, his authority still clinging to him like armor. Leah follows, clutching the girl tightly. Reporters swarm the tarmac, their cameras flashing like accusations. Security lines form, questions fly, and still, the child says nothing. Authorities demand identification. Victor's assistants rush to fabricate answers. She wasn't on the manifest. An officer says sharply. Leah's voice shakes. Then she's on ours now. Victor's gaze meets hers. The line between power and humanity blurs. For once, he has no press release, no prepared statement, only silence. The engines cool behind them, and a strange, fragile truth hums in the air. The billionaire has landed. but the man is just beginning to wake. Inside a sterile airport lounge, fluorescent light replaces the sky. The atmosphere feels interrogative, claustrophobic. Victor sits across from two officers, his tie loosened for the first time in years. Leah stays near the girl, protective, whispering soft words. The officers slide papers across the table, flight logs, manifests, timestamps. The child's name remains blank. How does a 6-year-old end up on a billionaire's jet? One officer presses. Victor's hands curl into fists. Leah answers, she needed to be found. Silence. Then the officer glances up. Mr. Haynes, do you want to file responsibility? A pause. The world's most powerful man exhales, whispering, yes. Outside, chaos brews. News vans swarm the terminal, headlines already rolling. Billionaire's jet stops for mysterious child. Flashbulbs explode as Victor and Leah emerge with the girl between them. Leah shields her from the cameras, but Victor feels the lenses pierce his soul. For the first time, he looks uncertain. Not the titan of finance, but a man caught between guilt and grace. Why did you stop? A reporter shouts. He doesn't answer. The child's small hand slips into his. Flash. Silence. The image will go viral, a symbol no PR strategy could ever buy. Later, in a private airport suite, silence returns. Leah tends to the girl wetting a cloth, brushing her tangled hair. Victor stands by the window, city lights flickering across his reflection. You could let her go, Leah says softly. I couldn't, he replies, voice low. Not this time. His eyes linger on the red fox lying on the bed. Something familiar about it, something forgotten. The child finally looks at him, tear-streaked and quiet. She doesn't speak, but she doesn't look away either. In that fragile stare, Victor sees a mirror, not of money, but of meaning. Midnight. The suite is dark except for the flicker of city lights. Victor sits alone, a sleeping child nearby. Leah rests on a couch, exhausted. The hum of distant traffic replaces the roar of engines. He picks up the red fox and turns it in his hands. It's the same one, he murmurs, a memory resurfacing, faint but real. His daughter once had the same toy, long before he traded her laughter for deadlines. Leah stirs, watching him in silence. Tomorrow, she whispers. What happens to her? Victor doesn't answer, but the way he holds that toy says everything. He already knows. Sunlight floods the suite through sheer curtains. The city hums awake below, but inside, time feels frozen. Victor stands near the window, shirt sleeves rolled, staring at the sleeping child curled against Leah's side. For the first time, he doesn't reach for his phone. He watches her breathe. Leah wakes slowly, sensing his gaze. You didn't leave, she says softly. He answers without turning. I've spent my life leaving. She rises, adjusts her uniform, and looks at him with quiet defiance. Maybe that's why she's here, to make you stop. Victor exhales, his reflection fractured by the morning glare. The weight of her words lands, not as accusation, but truth. Somewhere in the silence, the child stirs and whispers something inaudible. For Victor, that whisper feels louder than a boardroom collapse. Room service trays line the table untouched. Victor stirs his coffee mechanically while Leah cuts fruit for the child. Her movements maternal and tender. The girl eats quietly, still shy, eyes darting between them. Victor's phone buzzes non-stop. Board members, lawyers, chaos waiting on hold. Leah glances at the vibrating device. You're missing millions, she teases gently. He smirks, just slightly. Maybe I'm buying something better. She studies him, curious. Do you even know how to care for someone who can't give you anything back? His silence answers for him. The child laughs softly at a fruit slice shaped like a heart. And for the first time, Victor smiles, real and unguarded. Later, Victor's phone finally wins. he answers. The voice on the other end is one he hasn't heard in years. Martha. Calm, sharp, deliberate. You stopped your flight? She asks. Yes, for a child, yes. He can hear the faint sound of a piano in her background, the same piece their daughter used to play. You never stopped for hours, she whispers. His throat tightens. I know. Leah watches from across the room, her expression softening. When the call ends, Victor doesn't move. His eyes glisten, not with weakness, but with remembering. That night, sleep evades Victor. He wanders to the edge of the bed where the child lies dreaming. Her red fox rests by her hand. In his mind, he hears laughter. His daughter's from years ago. The same toy, the same tiny giggle echoing through a marble hallway long gone. You lost more than time. Leah's voice drifts from the dark. She's standing by the door, watching him. You lost yourself. He nods faintly, not denying it. Maybe I just traded love for control. Then trade back, she says softly, while you still can. The child turns in her sleep, and for a moment, the years between who he was and who he became disappear. Morning again. The girl plays by the window, humming softly. Leah folds napkins at the counter, pretending not to watch Victor as he stands behind her. You asked me once what she's here for, she says. Maybe she's here to show you what you've been running from. He looks at her. Quiet. And what's that? Leah turns, her eyes steady. Your own heart. The words linger. He nods slowly. Then maybe I'll stop running. Outside, the sunlight gleams off the glass towers. A world that once reflected his empire now mirrors his rediscovery. Afternoon heat shimmers outside the suite windows. Victor scrolls through headlines on his phone. Billionaire's mystery child sparks global curiosity. He sighs, sets it down. Leah watches him from across the room, sensing the weight behind his silence. The child sits on the floor, humming softly, drawing circles on hotel stationery with a red crayon. Suddenly, Victor freezes. The fox logo on the paper. His company's first logo from 20 years ago. His brow furrows. Where did you get that toy? He asks gently. The child looks up unsure. Leah whispers, She had it when I found her. Victor's pulse quickens. He kneels, takes the toy, turns it over. There, faint but visible, the initials VH stitched beneath its tail. His initials. His breath stops. Hours later, the door bursts open. One of Victor's assistants rushes in, pale and trembling. We found her record, he says. Her name's Ilara. Her father was a supplier for your Singapore plant. He died in a jet crash last week. The air freezes. Leah's eyes widen. Victor's lips part slightly, disbelief clouding him. A crash, he repeats. He repeats. Yes. His plane went down over the bay. Only the child survived, missing ever since. Silence fills the room. The same road. The same skies. Victor's empire, and this child's loss, now tangled by fate. Leah whispers, she was running from your world. His gaze drops to the fox, his own creation. Now the only relic of a man destroyed by his business. Leah's voice cuts through the silence. Your company built the part that failed. Victor's head snaps toward her. You think I killed her father? I think you forgot what your choices cost, she replies. His jaw tightens, pride trembling on the edge of collapse. He paces, each step echoing regret. I never meant for this, he says quietly. No one ever means it, Leah answers. The child hums again softly, her tune floating through tension. Victor's eyes fill, not just from guilt, but from memory. Every deal he made to rise, every face forgotten in Prophet's shadow, now distilled into one small girl holding his fox. Victor stares at his reflection in the sweet mirror, phone trembling in his hand. He calls Martha. "I found a girl," he begins. "She shouldn't be alive, but she is, and I think she's reminding me of what I used to be." Martha's voice is soft but distant. "Victor, maybe she's your second chance, not to fix what broke, but to remember what you lost." His reflection flickers between the man who ruled the world and the man who forgot how to care. "I don't know if I deserve one," he says. "No one does," Martha replies. "That's why it matters." Night again, the suite hums with quiet, the sound of a heart reawakening. Victor sits beside the sleeping child, gently running his thumb along the stitching of the fox. "This toy was made the year my daughter stopped speaking to me," he murmurs to Leah, who listens from the window. "I thought if I built enough, I'd earn her back." His voice breaks. Leah kneels beside him. "Maybe this isn't about earning," she says. "Maybe it's about remembering." Victor looks at the girl, not as a mystery anymore, but as a mirror of his own forgotten soul. The man who built empires now sits small in the dark, holding the quiet proof that even the mighty can be humbled by a single innocent life. Rain taps softly against the suite's window pane, rare for Dubai. Victor stands in the glow of the city lights, phone pressed to his ear. Martha's voice breaks through static. "You sound different." "Maybe I finally listened," he replies. She laughs faintly, bittersweet. "I used to pray you would." Behind him, Leah hums to the child as she drifts into sleep. "She looks like ours used to." Martha whispers through the phone, almost to herself. "Same eyes, same fox." Victor's throat tightens. He stares at the red stuffed toy, the stitches like old wounds reopened. "Maybe I don't deserve forgiveness," he says. Martha's silence carries meaning heavier than words. "Then stop chasing it," she murmurs. "Just be the man you should have been." He ends the call, not with regret, but resolve. Dawn breaks again, but something feels different. The storm has washed the city clean. Victor stirs from a chair near the bed, still in yesterday's clothes. The child is awake, staring quietly at him. Their eyes meet, deep, wordless, knowing. "Are you hungry?" he asks softly. She nods once. He smiles, just barely, the expression awkward on a man unpracticed in tenderness. Leah watches from the doorway, silent, as Victor helps her to the table. It's clumsy, human, real. The girl sets the red fox beside his plate, as if offering him a piece of herself. For Victor, that tiny gesture lands heavier than any contract he's ever signed. The moment comes suddenly. As Leah prepares the child's hair, Victor crouches to tie her shoes, a gesture unfamiliar but instinctive. She looks at him, eyes soft, innocent. "Daddy." The word falls. Like thunder in still air, Victor freezes, hands mid-motion, breath catching. Leah's eyes fill instantly. "What did you say?" Victor whispers. The child blinks, uncertain. "Daddy," she repeats softly, smiling. Tears trace down his face, silently, freely. He doesn't correct her. He just hugs her. The billionaire who once measured worth in numbers now reduced beautifully to a single word worth everything. Hours later, Victor stands alone on the balcony, wind tugging at his sleeves. Leah joins him quietly. "You know, she doesn't mean your daughter," Leah says softly. He nods. "But she reminded me I had one. Once." He looks over the skyline, the vast empire his name built. "All this," he whispers, "and I never stopped to hold her hand." Leah's eyes glisten. Then start holding this one. Maybe that's how you heal. He turns toward her, the city's reflection shimmering in his tears. I never realized how empty winning could feel. She steps closer. Now you know. That's where real change begins. By evening, news floods the world. Victor Haynes halts Tubi deal. Keeps promise to lost child. Cameras chase statements. Investors panic. The internet roars. But Victor doesn't notice. He sits beside the child, showing her how to fold a paper plane. Sometimes, he says, you stopped the flight to find the reason you started flying. Leah watches from the couch, her expression a blend of pride and quiet awe. The child launches the paper plane. It glides, spins once, lands softly in Victor's lap. He laughs, not the laugh of power, but of peace. Morning brings consequence. The door bursts open. 2 men in dark suits enter, government officials holding papers stamped with authority. Mr. Haynes, one says, the child must be transferred to an orphanage immediately. It's protocol. Leah steps forward instinctively. She's safe here, she insists. Victor rises slowly, his voice calm but unyielding. Protocol doesn't dictate compassion. The officer's tone hardens. With respect, sir, this isn't your decision. Victor's silver gaze cuts through him. It is now. For a man who's always commanded boardrooms, this defiance feels different. Not power, but purpose. Leah exhales in quiet disbelief. The child clings to her fox, wide-eyed. And for the first time, Victor isn't defending his empire. He's defending his heart. The negotiation room feels colder than the skies Victor once ruled. Lawyers, assistants, officers, all arguing legality. Victor remains silent until the noise becomes unbearable. He stands, palms flat on the table. She's staying with me. A lawyer protests you're not her guardian. He meets her eyes, steady. Then make me one. Gasps ripple across the room. Leah stares at him, stunned. Victor, she whispers, you'll lose everything. He smiles faintly. Then I'll finally have something worth losing. The silence that follows feels like a shift in gravity, the weight of a man stepping back into his humanity. Victor's boardroom is filled with polished faces and sharper tongues. Screens flash numbers and losses. The markets are bleeding. One executive snaps. You're destroying everything you built. Victor listens, eyes calm. Maybe I built the wrong things. You can't save one child and risk 10,000 jobs. Someone shouts. He rises, voice steady, echoing off marble. I've saved billions, but never once have I saved myself. This. He gestures toward the photo of the child on the table. Isn't about business. It's about finally becoming human again. Silence. The empire trembles, not from loss, but from the weight of awakening. Night. The suite is dark again. Leah packs quietly, uncertain of what comes next. They'll come for her tomorrow, she says. Victor nods, but there's something defiant in his calm. Then tonight, she dreams without fear. He sits by the sleeping child, her small hand resting on his. Leah watches him, her chest tightening. Why are you doing this? She whispers. He looks up. Because for the first time, I can't buy what I need to feel alive. The city lights flicker, and outside, thunder rolls faintly. A storm building, mirroring the one inside him. The next morning, the officials return, expecting surrender. Instead, they find a letter waiting on the suite desk. Effective immediately, I resign from Haynes Global. My fortune belongs to my foundation, dedicated to children lost in the systems we built. Signed, Victor Haynes. The officers read it in silence. Leah stands beside him as he lifts the child into his arms. You really did it, she whispers. You gave it all up. He nods. No, he says softly. I finally gave it to something that matters. The three walk toward the exit, sunlight pouring over them. No jet, no empire, no empire. Just a man, a woman, and a child walking toward redemption. Weeks later, a quiet coastal village replaces skyscrapers and jet engines. The ocean hums softly, endless, forgiving. Victor sits on a weathered bench, watching the child chase gulls with Leah. No assistance, no headlines, no noise, just wind and laughter. Leah turns to him, smiling. She's healing, she says. Victor nods, eyes fixed on the horizon. So am I. His voice holds peace. The kind money never bought. The child runs back, sand clinging to her small feet, holding up a seashell. For you, she beams. He takes it gently, holding it as though it's made of gold. Thank you, he says softly. Words simple, but truer than any speech he's ever given. Inside a small seaside cottage, the sound of waves mixes with pen on paper. Victor writes slowly, every word deliberate. To my daughter, I once believed legacy was built in numbers. Now I know it's built in moments. Like the sound of a child laughing when she feels safe again. He pauses, eyes moist. Leah watches quietly from the doorway. Will you send it? She asks. He shakes his head, smiling. No, she'll find it when she's ready. He folds the letter, places it in a drawer beside the fox's old tag, stitched with VH, the man who once ruled skies, now treasures silence. A black car pulls up near the cottage. Martha steps out, calm, elegant, composed as ever. Victor meets her by the door, silence stretching between them like an old ache. You disappeared, she says softly. I had to, he replies. Her eyes drift toward the child playing in the sand. She looks happy. She saved me, he says simply. Martha nods, a faint smile breaking through. Then maybe we both needed saving. Leah joins them, hand brushing Victor's briefly. A silent understanding of shared redemption. The three stand together as the child runs up, beaming, a shell in each hand. The family that life tore apart now stands whole again, if only in spirit. Evening. The wind picks up along the cliffs. Victor sits with the child as they fold another paper plane. Where should it fly this time? She asks. Home, he says softly. She nods, her small fingers creasing the paper. Together, they launch it. The wind lifts it high, spinning, gliding, dancing, until it disappears into the glowing dusk. Leah watches from behind, arms folded, a tear glistening. Victor's eyes follow the plane until it vanishes, then close, not in sadness, but in peace. Sometimes, he murmurs, you lose everything. And that's when you finally learn to land. Night falls. The camera drifts from the cottage window. Inside, warm laughter, soft lamplight, the hum of a life reborn. Victor reads aloud from a children's book as the girl leans against his shoulder. Leah closes her eyes, listening. Outside, the waves crash gently, their rhythm steady, eternal. The voiceover fades in. The billionaire's jet once flew higher than the clouds. But the man inside only found peace when he stopped to listen, to a cry no one else heard. The red fox sits on the windowsill, its stitched initials glinting faintly in the light. A relic of what was lost and what was found again.